Hi, this is Ralph, and in this video I want to create a little JavaScript that will check the value of a number entered into a text box and then provide feedback to the visitor depending on the number they put in there. So we're going to be using a combination of if, else statements. Now, I've got a little setup already here. I've created a web page. Let's see, so doctype HTML, so HTML5 page. I've got some internal styles. I've got an empty set of script tags. Ultimately, my script is going to go right into here. And then I've also got a simple form on the page that's been formatted. Notice I also have a paragraph that is empty. That's going to contain some feedback. So I do have a bit of a page already set up, and this is how my page looks so far. Let me refresh there. So this is the page as it stands right now. So basically, when we're all finished, we'll enter in a number over here, click Send Info, and we'll get a display of feedback over here on this portion of the web page. So let's jump back over to the editor and see what we've got. Now the first thing I want to do, I want to check for a number of things, but I want to take this in stages, and the first thing I want to do is just find out if this text box is blank or not, okay? I don't want it to get submitted if there's nothing even entered in the text box. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by declaring a couple variables. Okay, let's see. I'll do a variable for age, and that's going to be equivalent to document get element by ID parentheses age. I'm sorry. Yes, age in single quotes closing parentheses dot value. Okay, so what we're saying here, and semicolon, is that I want to get the value of a particular element that has ID age, and it's in my document. And sure enough, in my form, I do have a text box in here that's ID equals age. Don't confuse that with the label with the for attribute. So I'm getting an element by ID. It happens to be a text box. The value of that text box is going to be equivalent to the JavaScript variable called age. So I'm using the word age in a number of places. We just have to be clear. There's an age ID, now there's an age variable, and the age variable represents the value of the text box with age ID. So that's the first phase right there. And what I'll start off with next here is the basic if statement. Okay, because if it's blank, I want something to happen. If it's not blank, I want something else to happen. And the basic structure for an if statement is if, a set of parentheses that will contain the logical test, and then a set of curly braces that'll contain the thing that happens or the things that happen if that logical test is true. So if age is equal to an empty set of quotes. If age is blank, meaning if the value of my age text box is blank, I want something to happen. And the first thing I'll do is I'll just create a simple little alert here. And I'm going to indent this. Alert, you need to enter a number, or you need to enter your age. There we go. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to do this too. I'm going to type in return false. Because I'm dealing with a form, I don't want my form to get processed until I'm 100% done with everything. So basically, by putting in return false, I will prevent my form from getting processed. And what does that really mean? Well, normally when somebody submits a form, the data from that form goes to a script, maybe a PHP script on the server, so it can get processed, checked with a database, sent to someone's email or something like that. I've just got, for my form action, I just have a little dummy £sign in there. So, because we're just working on the client side here today. So, just want to keep that from happening. So, by putting in return false, I'll keep that form data from getting sent to the server or looking for some kind of script. Server-side script, that is. Alright, so I'll do a return false. So I'm just going to stop right there. So the basic if statement is, if age is blank, then give me an alert and prevent the form from processing. Stop the form. Now obviously if your needs were met, you wouldn't stop the form. And that's all you need for an if statement. Logical test, what happens if it's true? Now if it's false, then this whole thing's going to get ignored. So basically if there's something in the text box, that means age is not blank, okay, then it won't stop. My form will get processed, and we should see that happen right away. Now, in order to trigger this, we need to have it in a function. And And I didn't create the function first, but that's probably a good way to go. So I've got a number of things that I want to have happen. I want to create a variable, and I want to test this if statement. And this is going to happen whenever somebody does something. In this case, when somebody submits the form. So I'm going to jump up here, and I'm going to create a function. And my function will be called checkAge. And let me type it like this just so it's a little more authentic. Opening set of curly braces. And then I'm going to come down here, press my enter key a couple times, closing curly braces, and this will be the end of my checkAge function. Okay. Now we're getting better here. So now we've got a function called checkAge. And when that function is triggered or called, a couple things are going to happen. A variable is going to be created, and an if statement is going to be checked. Okay? So these are the things that are going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and let me scroll on down to my form, and I'm going to put in an event handler on submit equals return checkAge. There we go. So since I'm going to be doing a return false, I want to break something, then I need to use the return statement in order to call my function. Okay, let's see what happens here. So I've saved again. I'm going to jump over to my browser, and let me just do a refresh here. And basically, if I hit send info without typing in a number, I do get an alert. You need to enter your age. I click OK. If I type something in and hit send info, the form gets processed. And I can tell it's getting processed because up in my address bar there's now a little pound sign after the .html, and it's trying to go to the action of my form. So I'll click my back button. See, there's no pound sign. Type a number, click send. There's the pound signs trying to get processed. Back button. If it's blank, send info. That triggers my my alert. So I'll click OK. There we go. So let's jump back over to the editor and start to enhance this a bit. So there's my basic function, declaring a variable and then looking for a blank field. So I'm going to enhance this by putting in an else statement. Else, opening curly braces. Now, when you use an if function, and if the logical test is not true, then it's ignored. So when you put in an else statement in, you can say, well, if something is true, do this. Otherwise, do this other thing. And I put this on the same line as my closing curly braces here of the if statement, but I'm going to do it this way instead, just to make it a little bit easier to look at. I'll press my enter key and tab in, just so we can see that these kind of go hand in hand. So I have a complete if statement. Now I'm going to have an else statement. And I've got an opening set of curly braces, and I'll go ahead and do a closing set of curly braces. Else, what I want to do this time is document.get element by ID feedback dot inner HTML equals, okay, and this is where I'm going to say, well, if it's blank, then they didn't enter anything in. Otherwise, they must have entered something in. So I'm just going to start off with equals thanks for entering some data. Okay, semicolon. So what's going to happen now, oh, and let me also do this too, just so we can, I'm going to do return false. I'm going to keep preventing that form from getting processed. So I got a couple things going on. If the field is blank, I'm going to get an alert, and the form will be broken. Otherwise, I'm going to get some feedback in my feedback paragraph. Remember, I've got a paragraph down here with ID feedback. So if it's not blank, if there's something in it, I'm going to get thanks for entering some data, and that'll display. So let's test this out. Save, browser, and just do a refresh. Nothing is entered. I'll hit send info. There's my alert. I'll enter a number, hit send info, and I get thanks for entering some data. Okay, so that part seems to be working. One more quick modification. I'll just take this document feedback line. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to replace my alert. And I'll put in, please enter your age. Save that. Browser, refresh. Please enter your age. I type a number in. Thanks for entering some data. Excellent. So, in the next video, we'll enhance this a bit more. Now that we can determine if this text box is blank or not, our next order of business is to find out, did they enter a number or did they enter any text? So we want to make sure that we can handle if we know if it's text or number.